Hi, so not that long ago I filmed a 5 popular books that you cannot convince me to read video. It was all just a bit of light-hearted fun. I mean, like, I am never ever going to read the books that were on that list, like that was very serious. But it was all just a bit of light-hearted fun, like it wasn't trampling on anyone's reading tastes or anything like that. But I did think it would be really good to do the flip side of that and look at 5 popular books that I have been convinced to read, because I don't see too many people doing the flip side of that other video. So I thought it would be really good to do it, because to say that my TBR and my book wish list has grown rapidly since joining BookTok and now BookTube is a bit of an understatement. What I really love about like all these bookish communities that I've now joined is the fact that it has totally expanded my reading horizons. I was very much like a thriller horror reader. Obviously I did read other things as well, but they were like my main genres. And I just feel like at the moment I'm getting a little bit tired with sticking to my usual genres, because I have just been, my eyes have been opened to so many amazing books that are really outside of my comfort zone, really outside of anything that I would normally have read. I mean, to be honest, none of these books that are on my list today would have ever been on my radar without joining BookTube and BookTok, because they're just not books I would have ever entertained the idea of reading normally. But I am really excited to get stuck into these books. 2 of the books on this list I own, 1 I have already read, but it would have made it onto this list anyway because I was influenced by it by BookTok. All of the others I am wanting to buy physical copies of the books. I am normally a Kindle reader, but I do want to buy physical copies of all of these books, because there is, and this might sound really weird, but there's something about the fact that I am tackling these genres on this list for the first time that I really just want to do it in physical copy. I just feel like it feels a bit more special, like a bit more of a reading experience to do it in a physical copy. So one of the books on this list, I am waiting for it to come out in paperback as well, because I don't buy hardback books. I don't really like reading a hardback book. But yeah, as soon as it comes out in paperback, I will be buying it and plucking up the courage to tackle it. I am honestly really excited to share this list, and I am really excited to read these books and just tackle something completely new to me. And just looking at the list fills me with excitement for reading again. So we'll get into it. And the first book on my list that I have been influenced to read is One Dark Window. Now, I believe One Dark Window is a fantasy book, and fantasy is a genre that terrifies me. Like, if you've read this book, feel free to correct me, because I might have this completely wrong, but I feel like One Dark Window might be a good stepping stone into the fantasy genre. Like, I don't feel like it's as intense as some other fantasy books. They're the kind of vibes that I'm getting. I could be wrong, like I might have a really difficult time reading it, we shall see. But I see a lot of good stuff about this. Like, I've watched a lot of reviews for it, all spoiler free of course, and I feel like I just need to give it a go. So it is on my list. I do need to get around to buying a copy of it and tackling it. The next one on my list is a book that I have read, and it is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Now, it might seem like a bit of a strange choice to some people, but it's like a semi-spicy romance book. And before this, I wasn't really a spicy romance reader. I mean, like, I feel like pumpkin spice is very tame on the spice level. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I completely acknowledge its faults. It is not the best written book out there. In fact, I did do a review for it, so I will leave a link below to my review for Pumpkin Spice Cafe. But I just had so much fun reading it that, like, I cannot wait to get stuck into the rest of the Dream Harbour series. And the only reason I picked up the book is because like at this time of year, like into October, September, October, you could not move for this book because it is just so autumnal that I just had to get it. Like, I bought it for the cover. I said this in my review. I bought it for the cover, and it turned out that I loved it. So I'm really, really glad that I was influenced to buy that book. The next one on my list is one that is really doing the rounds at the moment, especially on BookTok. It's extremely popular right now, and I have been influenced, and it is Phantasma. Now, I think Phantasma is classed as a dark romantasy novel, and just those words, dark romantasy, are so far away from anything that I would normally have read. I've never read a dark romance book. I've never read a romantasy book. We've already discussed the fantasy element. So a dark romantasy, to have that on my list is just wild to me. But I honestly cannot move on BookTok at the moment for content about this book, and I am lapping it all up because I think it sounds really, really good, and I'm super excited to get it. Like, I definitely need to get my hands on a copy of this and go in and read my first ever dark romantasy book. Like, I might do like a bit of a read along, read with me vlog on that, just because I think it'll be really interesting, like to get my thoughts on camera as I'm reading it, for it being my first ever dark romantasy book. But yeah, I'm glad this is super popular at the minute, because I would never have ever looked at a book like this before, and now I'm very excited to read it. The next one on my list is a book that I own but I haven't read yet, and it is Legends and Lattes. And as soon as I saw this book, I was a bit like, fantasy. And then I started reading a little bit more about what cozy fantasy is, which is what this book is classed as. And I was like, that is me. That is a bit of me. Or at least I hope it is. There's no epic quests. There's no world building. It's just a short, sweet, cute and cozy story. And I feel like once I've read Legends and Lattes, my cozy fantasy obsession might spiral a little bit. Like, I've already been looking at other cozy fantasy novels because the genre just super intrigues me, and I have got quite a lot of cozy fantasy books on my Amazon wish list now that I'm waiting for them to come out in paperback format. But yeah, I'm hoping to read Legends and Lattes very, very soon. It's another one that I might do a reading vlog for. Like a lot of these, I might end up doing reading vlogs for, because I just think it's super interesting, like, to tackle a genre that I've never done before and like capture it in real time. Like, no one else might find it interesting, but I will. So yeah, I cannot wait to read Legends and Lattes and hopefully really like cement myself in the cozy fantasy genre. And the last one on my list is a book that, I'm not gonna lie, absolutely terrifies me. Like, I'm waiting for this one to come out in paperback, and I feel like when it does come out in paperback, I'm just gonna have to buy it straight away, otherwise I will somehow talk myself out of it, because it is When the Moon Hatched, and it is really, really popular, like, on social media at the moment. And it scares me because this is full-on fantasy, and like, I feel like I might be a little bit crazy for taking this book on as my first like full-on fantasy novel, but I cannot stop consuming content about this book. Like, I don't know what it is about it that has made me completely switch from someone who would never have read fantasy to now wanting to own this book and read it. But yeah, I do want to read it. It does scare me. It scares me for the fact it's full on fantasy. It scares me for the fact it's quite a chunky book. But I really, really want to give it a go, and I hope it's not a mistake. I really do, because I don't want it to put me off fantasy books either. But yeah, I am excited to read it. It wouldn't be on this list otherwise, but I'm also very nervous to read it. And I feel like I might be a little bit insane for doing it as my first full-on fantasy novel. but there we go. So they were my 5 popular books that I have been convinced to read. Like I say, this was the flip side to the video that I filmed a few weeks ago. I will leave a link to the 5 popular books I won't ever read below, so go and check that out. There were a few controversial books on there, but like I say, it is very light-hearted. Reading is subjective. I would love to know, spoiler free of course, if you have read any of these books on this list, or if you even like plan to read any of these books on this list. I'd love to know your thoughts. Please let me know if you think I am absolutely bonkers for tackling When the Moon Hatched as my first fantasy novel. And if there's any other like popular books within these genres that you feel like I should check out. And yeah, I will see you guys next time.